well, it is 5:01, so go ahead and I'm going to start the meeting. Let's see, who is here? Matt, who is here? Kyle Edson.
Here.
And our,
we need Brandon.
we need Brandon. I know, it's not here.
So
And-
I'll give him 2 minutes, and if he doesn't show, I'm going to run across the street. That's where he lives.
Okay, great. Wonderful. Great. And our Planning Commission liaison, Denise Wood. Your staff, Ron Fucci.
Here.
And me, Terry Luxier. And we'll see, give Brandon 1 more minute. I know Matthew will not be here this evening.
I'm going to go run across the street, but don't wait on me, please.
So can I keep going with the public comment?
Yeah, yeah, perfect.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Okay, so I'm going to read my little blurb that I get to read all the time. All right, public comment. General public comment must deal with matters subject to the jurisdiction of the city and the council that are not on the agenda. Anyone wishing to address the Parks and Recreation Committee on matters not appearing on the agenda may do so now. The public may comment on any other matter listed on the agenda at the time the matter is being considered. There will be a time limit of not more than 3 minutes for each speaker. No action will be taken on matters brought up under this item, and all comments will be referred to staff. Oh, here comes Brandon. Perfect. Think. Great. Hi, Brandon.
What's
All
up?
right. You're good. So public comment is open if anybody would like to have a public comment. Okay. No public comment then. All right, onward we go. So the big item tonight is spending that Prop 68 money, and we have discussed over and over. I think Matthew is okay with the playground, and I feel like that is our big ticket item. So reviewing that, we have the playground that Casey Hilbert showed us at the park 2 weeks ago, with installing the matting, doing the site work, the new play structure. The quote was $126,634 with the swings. The only thing was maybe the color on the slide. That was my deal, but I'm open to discussion about that. Changing it from orange to one of the blues that's on the play structure. Ron.
Yeah, and hello everybody. And the only thing I have as far as the playground structure and discussing colors and all that, we don't have to, lock down the colors. We just need to agree on the actual playground, and then we can always change colors down line, kind of on that short time frame of
Okay.
the paperwork done. So just
Great.
thought.
Great. I mean, that's so minor that
Yep.
the one little piece of the slide is a minor
Right.
factor.
Absolutely.
All right. So that is a big one. And that was the 126, whatever I just said, 634, as shown by Mr. Hilbert 2 weeks ago. Now, beyond that, we still have money, and we talked about the other items for consideration. We're adding some more swings, the surfer style swings, which the site work was approximately 10,000, and the swings were another 5, so another 15,000. Ron, did he come down or in any price on the adding that?
I'm sorry, I was muted.
That's okay.
But he hasn't yet. So still working on that. And then just on another note, because I was looking at it 2 days ago, the parking lot at the park, and then access to that playground. And we have to always be careful to address ADA every time we do something within the city. And I got a quote to add an ADA ramp right there at the parking lot next to the awning there, and then actually attach the concrete to that awning where people sit. So that allows that to be ADA accessible as well. And we're going to move the current handicap sign, which is right at the top of that walkway, which is the grade is way too much. I don't even know why that's there. It's got to be less than 5%, but that's where that was designated as a handicap parking. So I need to move that. But I got a quote to run the sidewalk from there all the way to the playground, and then also to redo the parking lot and restripe it with all the necessary parking spaces and the new handicap. And I have that price if you want it, Terry.
Yeah, because we need to finalize everything tonight. So
Sure.
yes,
So
please.
it's 43,050.
43,000?
Yep. That's for the walkway, also the parking lot. And we have to move the handicap. So
So when,
Did he divvy it up how much would just the path be?
the path would be, let's see, I got it right here. Looks like it's about 20 grand. 20 some apply to the ring thing. I could send this to you, Terry, as well.
well, no, because we need to decide tonight. When we
Right.
talked 2 weeks ago, it was in the 6 to 10,000 for the pathway. So that obviously, so more like
Well, this-
20 for the
Yeah.
path. Okay,
Pathway, and it's 5 feet wide, so it has to be able for the wheelchairs to turn.
Yeah, great.
So
okay. All right. Then we talked about lighting, which was 5,000.
it was
Putting it-
actually, it came out to about 4,300. I already did the work, so but
Okay,
invoice,
okay,
because I have to get it done because it's a safety issue.
okay. We did talk about putting bocce ball courts in approximately
Yes.
for two, about 10,000, 5,000 each.
That is correct.
Okay, the tennis nets, for two tennis nets, about 500 total. Is that correct, Brandon? Okay. Benches in various locations, about 600 each. We thought of 5 different benches to be determined where they would be placed. So that would be 3,000. Resurface the tennis courts or pickleball courts would be about 10,000. So because the cost of the pathway went up, we're gonna have to look at this and decide what to maybe weed out. So,
It seems like that ADA accessibility piece is a pretty important thing.
we
right?
have to do that. We have
The
to
full
do that.
43, not just the path, right? We need, so that leaves us with the lighting, maybe $2,000.
That's
Is that
it.
right? So, yeah.
Is there a way, Ron, of the lighting being absorbed by another budget? I mean, because if we were able to absorb that out of, general funds or something, then we could have benches and the tennis nets, right? Or something similar. I'm just looking for some kind of wiggle room, to have a little more.
Right, because right now, just the play structure as is and the 43,000, we're at 169,684. So that's about $9,000 is all that gives us to decide on.
And it's about, I got a quote for the benches today, so it's about 3,800 for 5 benches.
Okay,
I'll give you the exact quote right now. It is 3308.68.
okay. So now if,
I'm sorry, Terry.
that's
Would
okay.
Would it be possible to, what was $10,000? Oh, how much were
Bocce.
the second set of swings? The
They
circle-
were going to be quite a lot because there was more site work that needed to be done. So that it was a very high quote though, for the little bit of site work that he was going to do. It was going to be another $10,000, which seemed,
But there are also another set of swings, right?
right, plus the 5,000 just for the swings. So just that little additional piece on the swings was about 15,000.
So one thing we could do, right? I mean, we're hoping there's additional funding and it sounds like, it's a good thing, right? We have too many things that we want.
True.
And so one thing would be, of course, we need the ADA. It's a little disappointing how expensive it is, but what if we put the second set of swings on list B? That way we could still resurface the tennis courts, do the benches and the tennis nets, right?
No,
No?
No.
That would be a bit, yeah, I think we only have 9,000 as the balance
Oh,
right.
to deal with,
Right.
like benches,
Gotcha.
tennis.
yeah. So the swing, the play structure and all the ADA at 43,000. Yeah, we only have about 9,000. So we could do the benches, we can do the tennis nets. We can't resurface because that was going to be too much. I mean, put that definitely on plan B. Also, the bocce ball courts go on plan B. Or we could do one bocce ball. Well, Ron, what did you think about your lighting? Can you put that somewhere else or do we need to absorb that on here?
Well, I mean, the plan was to use this money for the park. So
Okay.
if I did it other way, it'd be coming out of the.
Okay, so let's do the math. 126.34 plus the 43,050 plus the 4,300 for you, plus the 500 for the nets, plus the 3,800. We're at 178,284.
Done.
I'll kick in the 284. So that is play structure,
Mhm.
the entire ADA pathway, everything, the tennis nets, the lighting, and 5 benches.
Mhm.
Pretty good. Can I ask a quick question about the tennis nets? I missed last one. Apologies. It was just too early in the workday still. Brandon, is that just the nets? I thought you had mentioned that I've noticed that the actual posts that hold the nets up are kind of leaning in and coming out of the concrete a little bit. Is that just for the net itself? And would that get it to the regulation height that you had talked about 2 meetings back? Or is it still going to be a separate project to something that we would tackle when the resurfacing happens?
I mean, I played there on Sunday. I don't know. It seems like the nets are just tied on to the post, but not like formally tied on the way they should be to create tension and keep it at a regulation height. So I think the nets would just be to replace the holes in the nets, and the
Okay.
posts definitely need to be changed, I think, overall. Yeah.
Okay.
What's an estimate of how much those posts would cost to redo? Ron, can you spitball that?
Yeah, and I can't give you an exact. I can give you an assumption of what it might be, because those sleeves, like Brandon said, they're failing. They're just rusted at the bottom, so they need cut, new sleeves put in. I think it was like I had replaced that one that just broke, I think, and I have that quote. I think it was like $480 to redo that one, just that one side. So I mean, you're talking about 4 altogether, or 3 now, but it needs to be redone or they're just going to fail. We could put new nets, and like Brandon stated, if we put any tension on it, they're just slowly but surely bending over because they're rusted out. So
Well, it seems like we could, so what I'm hearing is it would cost about 2,000 to bring them all up to speed. Is that correct?
roughly, I mean, I did one, so one's good. So about
Okay.
need to be redone.
So 1,500, why don't we, eliminate a few of the benches?
We can do that. We could
I'm
take,
just trying to, yeah,
we could take 2 of the benches away.
yeah.
So for right now, get 3
Yeah.
benches, the tennis nets and the posts.
Yep.
Okay.
And
So,
can I, excuse me?
yes, Ron.
I'll just say this for the sleeves and stuff, that I can take care of that on my end. That's part of my job anyways over there. And then it'll eliminate us having to do an extra application for Work Memorial Park, and we can just keep it right at Delray Park. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
No. Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
So as far as the sleeve replacement,
Yes.
I can do that with my budget.
Okay.
Sleeve replacement because that's a repair. But because if not, we have to do another application address for this grant.
Got
Okay.
it.
Avoid that if we can. So I'll take care of that portion and then we just have to get the nets.
Oh, great. Perfect. Then we get all the benches and the nets and your budget will
Exactly.
accommodate
Because the
both.
benches are important, yeah.
Okay.
We can get the tennis nets, even though they'll be going on another address?
Yeah, that's a touchy one because we do have to fill that out. So, and how much are those nets, Brandon?
You're
Uh,
muted. There.
they're about 200 to 250 each, depending
Okay,
on.
yeah, I'll take care of the tennis court area.
Thanks, Ron.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. So, all right, back to the math.
Mhm.
Okay, so 126, 634 plus the 43,050 plus lighting at 43 plus the 3,800 for the benches. Taken out.
Can I ask a question regarding the lighting?
Yes.
It's my understanding that the Delray Park closes at sunset.
Mhm.
So why do we need lighting if the park is closed at sunset?
It's a security thing and it's low lighting. And then also too with the JV boxes and all the electrical outlets were wide open and there was sticks sticking in them. So they all had to be replaced and redone because it was just a hazard. So, but the lighting itself is a security thing and that's something that would have to be addressed with PD, but it had to be done. So, and then it lights up Old Town Hall just at the walkway and the flagpole.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so that without then the nets, we're at 177, 784. Pretty good,
Pretty
people.
great. Yeah.
Yes, very, very good. All right. So real quick, the voting protocol, we touched on it at the park with John. So he said that just the committee members would be voting, which would be Kyle, Brandon, Matthew, and myself. If there is a tie between the four of us, Ron will be our tiebreaker. I think we're all, I think we're going to be good. I'm not real
I do too.
concerned. But just for public record, that is our voting protocol from now on for the committee. Okay, so with that being said, I guess I will call for a vote. I don't know how formally to do this. You know, I'm new to all this. So voting on the Prop 68 funds as discussed, the $126,634 for the new playground equipment with the matting and the demolition, the matting, and the new structure, ADA 5-foot wide pathway and ramp and relocation of handicap and everything else for $43,050, lighting replacement and safety issues, $4,300, and 5 benches at various locations to be determined for $3,800 for a total of $173,000. I'm sorry, what did I just say? No, I said wrong. $177,784. All right.
Can I
Yes,
say one
Ron.
thing?
Yes,
I
of
just-
course.
I just wanted to add too that with that walkway, that includes, 43 includes the parking lot being restriped and resealed as well.
Okay.
And Ron, is that included in is that an appropriate,
Yes,
Okay.
with the sidewalk and the parking lot and the striping
okay,
and the relocation of the ADA, of the handicap parking, which has to be moved.
And a new ramp, a ramp
new
that
ramp.
goes, okay.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, no, wait, that's important and we need to take care of that. Okay, so call for a vote. I don't really know how to do this, Allison. Do I just call on Brandon and Kyle and myself and we vote?
Yeah, you
Is-
ask
is
for
there
a
any-
motion and you get a second and then, oh, sorry, Mark, did you have something to say?
Is there any chance for public comment on this before you guys vote, or do I have public comment after you vote? Because I have some questions, and especially after Ron just brought some stuff up, but I don't know what your guys' protocol is.
Allison, I'm deferring to you.
I would say, yes, Mark, please share your thoughts.
All right, so I hear what has gone on, and it sounds like a lot of this money that was set for Parks and Rec is for the ADA compliance, which I totally understand, and it's a necessary. But then, how much of that money is going to resurface the parking lot and repaint, restripe the parking lot that for this recreation grant is not going to be used for items that could be, for recreation? And I understand that there's a need there, but that it seems like that infrastructure shouldn't be funded out of something that we're trying to provide the citizens with things to recreate, as opposed to something that, should be maybe paid for or found from a different budget source. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I think that's a totally valid point.
Ron, do you have a breakout on the restriping and resealing?
To do. Yeah, so it looks like it's about almost $5,000 for the striping and the slurry seal.
Just 5 for both.
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
$3,850 and $1,050 for the striping.
Okay, so it's not making or breaking anything.
Mm-mm.
Where's the other 40,000? That's for the path?
That's for the 5-foot path going and the ramp, the ADA ramp, going from the parking lot to the actual awning there, the pergola, and then going all the way down across the front of the new structure with the bench being placed right out front.
And I guess my next question is, I understand we need the ADA compliance for the new park or a new facility because it's going in, but
Mhm.
does there need to be an ADA ramp built to the pergola that's currently sitting there? Or is that just a, hey, while we're at it, let's throw that in there? Because I think the original number was 20,000 for the ramp and then another 20,000 for the ceiling and the addition of the pergola, but my numbers may be completely off. That's just what I thought I heard.
Yeah, no, and you're right. While we were there, I was like, it's like an extra 8 feet to tie into that pergola and the awning there. And it just adds another aspect to the park where people have ADA accessibility. So, I mean, we're already there. It's an extra 8 feet to make that ADA accessible, and it just makes sense.
Okay,
So I hate to keep being the thorn in the side, but so my personal passion is pickleball. I don't know if that's known, but when I hear that the tennis courts, which I used a significant amount of the time during COVID, and have ultimately stopped using because the cracks and disrepair of the courts were to a point where it made it difficult to play safely. We ended up stopped playing there and started going elsewhere where we had that safety aspect. So to hear that the resurfacing of the tennis courts has fallen by the wayside, I'm trying to find out if there's options or availability of funds that are being used for something that may not be considered recreational or may not be necessary, but is a nice to have, not a need to have. If that's something that, you know, we could trim off of the current $40,000 or $47,000 for the ADA ramp et al., and use that for things that are going to be able to be used for recreation, as opposed to, you know, something that might be able to be accomplished later on if we get more grant funding. So that's where I'm coming from with this line of questioning.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that makes sense to me. I don't know if, you know, the resurfacing of the lot near the park can be delayed a bit, or funds pulled from another source. But that would, if that liberates $5,000 or so, yeah, I mean, I guess it would be nice if we could get new, you know, nets and posts and resurface the tennis courts at the same time if possible. But Ron, you were planning to take all of that and kind of use other funds for that project anyway. So the resurfacing, it wouldn't really fall into this grant at all at this point, right?
Right, and the resurfacing, we did talk about, and it's definitely on our to-do list. Looking at the resurfacing, I think Brandon, you thought, or somebody thought from looking at the notes from last meeting, to do resurface the tennis courts and also restripe, so it was a dual use tennis and pickleball was going to be about 10,000. Was that correct? Roughly, like a rough idea?
Yeah, I reached out to two contractors in San Jose as well that do resurfacing. So one person said they're gonna come in and give me like a more accurate estimate on the courts. But as far as I know, 10,000 is the approximate number at the moment.
Right. So even if we took the restripe and reseal off the plate over at Del Rey Park, it's still not enough for restriping the pickleball courts at this time. But it is definitely something we've been talking about since we started the committee, and it's definitely a priority. After the first of the year, we're going to come up with our master plan and start figuring out what, you know, is going to be next on our list. I mean, this is still open for discussion, and you know, Kyle and Brandon, I want to hear how you feel about taking the restripe and reseal off the parking area. If we do that now, where else do you want to put that extra 5,000?
Well, I mean, Ron said it'd be about $5,000 to do bocce ball courts. So, I mean,
For one, yeah.
$5,000 for one court. Is that correct, Ron?
Yeah, I think that's accurate.
So it'd be $10,000 for two bocce ball courts.
Yeah, it'd be 10, and I'd be the one doing the work. So I'm doing that so we can save a few dollars on labor and equipment coming out. So since I have the equipment.
So I just want to throw something out here. The city has, and of course I am not making any promises whatsoever, but the city has ARPA funds, which is from the federal government coming down, and the council will be looking at how to spend those. Off the top of my head, little things like the lighting, right? That feel like a safety measure to me. What I'd like to throw out there is, you know, Ron, you or I could talk to John Girton about possibly absorbing those costs through ARPA, right? It's about, you know, providing resilience for the community and as we move forward. And it's another, you know, $200K, but we don't have a $140,000, you know, piece of equipment coming up. So while for us, this $10,000 kind of makes or breaks things, I would be happy to talk to John about if we could include some of that in this other pot of money. What that would mean is you guys might need to reconvene for a vote after we got some kind of a word on that. But I just wanted to throw that out there as an option.
Okay, we're kind of in the 11th hour as far as deciding on the funding though, aren't we?
I can call him tomorrow,
Okay,
and if everybody could meet, just for a quick vote, we could do a Thursday. Well, wait, today's Wednesday. I don't know, next Monday or something.
okay. But then we go back to, if we took the lighting off and we took the stripe and seal off, that is close to 10,000. So it does give us an opportunity to either do the bocce ball courts or do the tennis and pickleball courts. However, we're back to what Ron was talking about in the beginning. If we do the tennis courts and pickleball courts in this round, then it's a whole different, am I correct, Ron? A whole different address that we have to apply for because it's at a different site than at the main park. So that's just something to be cognizant of, I guess.
Is that possible given the timeline to add a secondary address to it, or is that does that stop the whole idea? We just have to do bocce ball, not tennis for now, because we don't have the time before the application is due.
Ron?
Yeah, I think we're kind of almost out of time. Like Terry said, we're at the 11th hour. So I don't want to lose this fund money that we have, and we have to have it in no later than next week, because Jeff and I have to go over and we have to do that, all the quotes that came in, and we have to finish the 68 form and get it in time. So, I mean, we're real close on time.
Right, and then it does have to be presented to the council also, correct?
Absolutely. And that's the 14th or 15th, Mary?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, we got.
I mean, I'm, what am I trying to say? I'm okay to wait and do a special vote on Monday if we take the lighting and the restripe and reseal out. And then what we would replace that with, which it sounds like would be the bocce ball courts, because doing the tennis courts would be at the other location that we don't have time to take care of in this grant. It doesn't mean come January, we're not going to take care of it with other funding that hopefully we're going to have. I mean, this has just been a whirlwind. We got together, this is our third meeting, and we have to decide because of the crunch. So how do you feel about either we vote tonight or we postpone till next week, whatever date to be determined? Kyle, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm happy to meet again and find out if we can absorb those expenses elsewhere. And I'm curious also if Mark, if that if we were able to shift the amount spent on lighting and remove the resurfacing, but retain the additional like 8 feet of pavement to make the little gazebo ADA accessible, and we added bocce ball courts with the balance. Does that satisfy some of your concerns, or is there something else that you'd like us to consider?
No, I just thought that there seemed like, the general number for the ADA was pretty high.
Yeah.
But then when we broke it down, the actual ramp itself, which is a necessity, is, I believe, 20,000, and the slurry coat lines and other work that would be done to piggyback on the necessity was the additional 20 grand. Again, I don't have the exact numbers, and I'd be curious if Ron had the exact numbers of the breakdown of what actually was required, which is the 5-foot ramp going up to the new play structure versus the nice to haves, which is the access to the gazebo, the striping, and the slurry, how much actual slush there is at that point. And that was my question. Was it sounded like everyone kind of took a gasp when he made the initial statement of 40-something thousand, but it sounds like only a portion of that, and I'm not sure which portion is required to meet the needs of this playground project. And then if it is, say, $20,000, that kind of meets the requirements to add the bocce ball and the pickle or the resurfacing of the tennis courts. So that's all I was asking was what requirements or what funding is needed for the requirements of this versus what funding is being asked for nice to haves or conveniences of adding the gazebo and sealing the ground and striping it. So if you take away the unnecessaries, how much money is that from the $47,000 that was needed for ADA compliance?
Okay. So Ron, could you, if we delay till next week, could you break that out so that we could discuss that and finalize that?
Yeah, I have the actual quote and I can send that to you, Terry, via
Okay.
email. Like,
Okay. We lost Kyle, it looks like. All right. Denise, I know you don't have a vote, but how do you feel about delaying this or the discussion that we've had?
Oh, I think it should be delayed because there's still some questions to be had. But
Okay.
I think the thing to think about though is, do we have the time to actually do the tennis court now? And it sounds like we don't. So that's kind of a non-issue, unfortunately. But I think if we make it a top priority for the next funding round, if Mark would be okay with that. And I don't know how that would work.
Right. And I think,
Yeah.
so Mark, just a little history. Like I said, we just formed this committee and here's money, we have to spend it immediately. So we've kind of all been thrown into the fire. Ron did so much work ahead of time for us. And the priority was definitely that play structure for Matthew. That seemed to be what we all wanted and decided on. And then the other things are just kind of right now, what can we do? Come the first of the year, we are going to start working on a master plan. There will be more funding. And then we can start, doing these other things. Definitely the tennis courts and pickleball courts are way up there on the to-do list because we've been talking about that since day one, thanks to Brandon and bringing that to our attention.
And one more thing, I totally appreciate Mark's comments too, just making sure that the money for recreation is spent on recreation. And I get that. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Mark, for that. And Brandon, how do you feel about delaying?
Oh, I'm totally on board. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Place for something that'll last for at least 10, 20 years is pretty important. So.
Okay. All right. So let's figure out a time, an evening, beginning of next week. Obviously is Wednesday too late? Because that only doesn't give us a lot of time.
So my suggestion would be that the majority of the items, it sounds like, are good to go. And all we're talking about is the lighting and restriping versus bocce ball.
Okay.
So another way to do this would be to vote on everything else with the exception of that $10,000. And then Ron can move forward, right? He
Okay.
can do all that stuff. And then once there's a second vote, once he or I have that answer for you, whether it can be absorbed or not, then the second vote is really simple.
Okay.
Or you could also build it into the vote where, if you have a preference.
Okay.
Right? So there's lots of options.
All right. Well, unfortunately, it looks like we lost Kyle. So I don't want to vote without Kyle. Does anybody else see him? I don't see him. I think because that sounds great because that would make things very quick and easy next week. But without him,
it's fine.
I don't feel right, especially because Matthew's not here either. So it would just be Brandon and I. Okay.
But Ron could start on the majority of it because we're only down to those 3 items. That's what I'm hearing the kind of consensus is.
Right, and I think Kyle's fine with that. He's just not here. So is that okay?
We're fine to wait if you'd rather wait, but I want to give Ron the option to, you know, kind of start putting things in. I mean, you're not going to be able to push go until you hear from the council anyway.
Okay,
But if it's all in the system and all ready to go, it would just simply be a matter of adding, you know, deleting.
so could we unofficially say Ron can start on the play structure, you know, plugging everything in for the play structure and plugging everything in for the benches? Can he start on that without officially us voting on it?
I would vote just the two of you right now. I mean, yes, of course, Ron can do whatever he wants, right? And then be able to edit it, because if the council meeting isn't until Tuesday, the 13th or 14th, right? In a perfect world, he would have everything ready to go. And then that next morning, you just pick, you know, click go.
Okay,
But that's me saying it, not understanding the system and not understanding all of the nuances that Ron has to deal with, so.
okay. Brandon,
I just have a question. If you have the information, just like why there was never any momentum towards putting paperwork in for the tennis courts or that side of Delray Oaks, like it seemed like it, just curious, like what is the process very tedious or too long?
Ron, do you have an answer for that?
Yeah, I think it's just the simple fact that you have to redo the address and do a new application for that particular area. But I'll say this too, is so everybody knows, especially you, Mark, is that we are expecting some funds from this bill that just passed, with this infrastructure bill and all that stuff that passes. There's going to be some money coming, hopefully for us, for all of California. And I was talking to John about that today, and he said, yeah, definitely we're going to have resources. So yeah, we're definitely attentive to the tennis court. We know a lot of people like to play out there, and I would love to redo all that stuff. You know, I got a long list. And so I hear all your comments, and thank Mark for your comments, and definitely want to address everybody's concern and make sure everybody's happy.
Okay,
So I don't want to sound like the Thor on the side, and I got to be perfectly honest. I've had a little bit of experience with cost analysis, and I think 10 grand is not even close to what it's going to cost to resurface and paint the tennis courts. That in the condition that they're currently in, they're probably going to be closer to 15 to 20 at least. When they did the Via Paraiso course, it was $17,000. So I think that's probably a more realistic number. So I'm not trying to find the money to fund pickleball. I was just trying to, see if some of these other projects that I know that have been on the hot plate were available for that. So that's, I apologize for interrupting your meeting, but I'm as one of the original Parks and Rec committee members, when Allison formed it 2 or 3 years ago, and it ultimately fell apart. I understand what you guys are doing, and I appreciate all of your work. And I think it's going to be amazing, whatever this money goes towards making the parks more accessible and more user friendly. So sorry again for the interruption, and appreciate everything you guys are doing. And Ron, I know you are completely underappreciated for all of the work that you do for Delray Oaks. So
thank you, Mark.
I'm going to end my comments and let you guys finish your meeting.
well, Mark, I just want to say thank you for bringing some things to our attention, and you are not interrupting, and you don't need to apologize. I mean, we all are in this community together. So that we're on the committee, that doesn't mean anything different. And we're all in this together, and we want to hear other people's ideas and opinions. So thank you. Thank you for taking time to pop in with us tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. All right, Brandon, you and I, let's take a quick vote, at least for the playground as is with everything we've discussed, 126, 634, and 5 benches, $3,800, whatever total that is. I've been doing so much math. Let's see, we need a total, or can you just say yes or no on those 2 items?
I vote yes.
Okay, I vote yes. Great, done. Okay, so at least we have those 2, Ron, that we're starting with, okay? That's a start. Whew, okay, and then let's pick a,
You guys are not able to meet next Wednesday because that's when the planning commission meets.
okay. What,
So
Denise?
Denise wouldn't be able to.
No, but the planning commission's at 6. So if this is at
Oh.
5, I can do both.
Oh, so we could do 5 o'clock real
Yeah.
quick. Does that work for
Yeah,
everybody?
absolutely.
Is that, it stays the same? All right, and by then, we will know if we can defer the lighting and defer the stripe and seal. That will give us about the 10,000. And then if we want to switch that into the bocce ball courts, seems like the easiest trade out.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So we will meet then Wednesday at 5 very quickly just to finalize that. And then before we end this meeting, just something to think about that we kind of tossed around tonight was starting to think about first of the year. You know, let's get a plan. What are the priorities? Where do we want to focus? And, you know, our parks, Delray Park is, yes, the biggest park, but then we do have the tennis courts and we do have over by the butterfly garden. And we have areas to put pocket parks, you know, these little tiny areas down the road that we can develop, whether it's that piece across from the church by the nursery that we end up putting the active adult equipment in, or further down the other way, maybe cutting into just a little bit of Ron's yard, just a little bit, Ron, not too much. We're going to leave you a yard, but I mean, maybe doing some other things that way, or even across the way where my street names are Portola, where it comes in off Carlton, and there's that big triangle kind of piece. I think there's a little
in
library.
Quindale, yeah.
Window.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah, the Quindale Circle.
so, you know, these little pocket parks that we can down the road expand and do also are different ideas. But definitely after the first of the year, I really want to see us come up with priorities as far as, you know, when new funding comes in, what are we going to do? Right. You know, so we don't have to spend, we kind of already know what our of course, those can always shift and change. And then also looking at the big picture, and Denise, this is where especially your expertise will come in, and Ron, as far as, you know, how are we going to lay out some of these things and looking at our parks and what's the best way to plan and put some things, because we don't want to just cram everything into Delray Park and then all of a sudden, you know, everybody's scrunched together trying to do things. We still need open space.
Right, and there's one huge piece to this is the maintenance. And so kind of, we definitely need to keep that. And then I don't know about budgeting for that and whatnot, but yeah.
And then
Because Ron can't clone himself. Darn it.
No, and that is, you are 100% right.
Yeah.
We never want to overdo anything. And he is really, you know, he's the voice of reason for all of us because he knows this inside and out. We're just kind of here to muddle through some of the other pieces. And then finally, for me, the other parts of park is recreation. And I would like to, okay, so let's just not buy stuff. What are we going to do? If we get bocce ball courts, let's do a league. Even the new basketball court that hopefully is going to come in, let's do a league. That house, whatever it is, the little, what do we call that place?
Old Town Hall.
Sorry, the little house.
It's the little house, Old Town Hall.
The little house. It's empty all the time except for voting day. I mean, rarely is anything. Let's have some classes in there. Let's offer some things as far as the recreation side, you know, and this is just down the road. This is just after the first of the year. We have some time to start planning and thinking because this first part of our committee was, we gotta vote on this. We gotta spend this money. But now we have time to really plan and think about what's going to be best for our community and our city. So that's my 2 cents.
Mhm.
All right.
Nice.
All right. Any
Great
other
job.
comments? Brandon, anything else you want to share?
I've been studying colors of slides everywhere I go. So
You're taking your job seriously.
And
Huh.
what have you
And
come up with?
what did you come up with?
I saw like a forest green slide, and that one caught my eye. Really.
Oh, nice.
Okay. All right. Well, my 2 cents is that
Nice.
if the slide blended in with the rest of the play structure, then the kids would be more surprised as they walk towards it. Like, oh, like it wouldn't be glaring at them. They'd walk and go, oh, there's a slide, or oh, there's the climbing structure. So that's the way that I was approaching it, is that it kind of all made it more mysterious and blended, and they wouldn't really know till they got closer.
An oasis, a jungle gym oasis.
Love it.
But honestly, it was just the orange. I guess it's just me. I'm just the anti-orange person. Anyway, yes, and thank you, Allison, for saying Ron, that we didn't have to decide on the color.
Mhm.
That's to be determined. All right, and anything else from anybody else for this evening?
I think so.
Okay,
Good job, Terry.
Yay.
Great job.
you're just saying that so I keep doing it.
Oh, no, I'm serious.
That too.
That too.
And thank you, Ron.
Oh,
A
Ron,
lot of work.
Thank you guys, man. It's a team effort with all of us. So just
Well.
keep on going, and we just keep beautifying Delray Oaks and the nice city that it already is, but make it.
Yay.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's the
Sounds
best
good.
thing. It already is a nice city, and we just get the luxury of making it even better.
Yep. It's fun.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
Okay,
All right.
Wednesday at 5. So Alice, thank you all. Allison, I just have a question for you. As far as, I guess I then need to contact the city again and tell them that we're going to do a 5 o'clock meeting on the,
Yeah, that would be great if you do that. And
okay,
then Ron, it sounds like you'll talk to John and I'll talk to John, and
okay.
he'll have to say yes.
Okay.
Okay, so,
Have a good night, everyone.
thank
All
you,
right.
Denise.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Guys.
Good night.